Hi, Christine Byer Beauty Club. Christine Byer here, and I am putting together this video as sort of a compilation of all the questions that were asked yesterday. And we've got a whole bunch of stuff. So what I decided to do is just show you a routine that I do, and I like to keep it simple. But somebody was asking me about, well, you all were asking me about what and when. What devices and when, and you were all asking about, well, one gal was asking about how to release the face before doing microcurrent. So when you are combining modalities, you need to know that microcurrent always goes last. Why? Because you want to leave the muscles in a retrained position, educated, retrained, up there taught. Just leave them as they are, and that's how we end our session always with microcurrent. Microcurrent you want to aim to do 3 to 4 times a week. You can do it even more if you're in building phase, but you want to top off at about a half an hour of microcurrent per day. Otherwise, it's rare, but I have seen people get fatigued muscles, but they did it like a whole hour. The muscles on the face, they're very fine, and if we overwork them, we will feel it, much like you've laughed too much for how your cheeks hurt, that kind of feeling, just a fatigue. So not very common, so let's just cut it at a half hour. Now LED you want to do 2 to 3 times a week, and if you have my LED, the treatment time per section, this is mine, but the ones I sell come with a plastic coating here already, but this, I've had this in my treatment room for ages, and so I just put a little sandwich baggie because these LEDs are bare. Anyway, what I'll do, you can start out a treatment. I already prepped my skin. You would want to double cleanse your face, do an exfoliation if you want, and then I would put on all the good stuff, because whatever you put on now is going to be pushed into the skin. And I know it says do LED on clean, dry skin, and if you have like uber dry skin, I would not use LED this way. I would put a collagen gel mask or the Promoter collagen gel or my Hydrolift collagen or Hydrolift gel on there first and use LED over it, because when you push the LED flat against the skin like this, none of the energy is escaping. It's all going directly into the skin, and so that makes it a pretty powerful treatment. The further you get away from the skin, like with panels and stuff, they have to be stronger so that they make up for the fact that they're getting inches away from the skin. So yeah, when you have it flat against the face, it's great. If you want to use goggles with this, you can, but I would aim for 3 to 8 minutes per section. And I think it's funny, my manufacturer all of a sudden started putting 8 minutes on the instructions, and I'm like, I just use it 3 and I get fantastic results. So you could use it up to 8 minutes. Just remember that the more LED you do, the more mass that you need, the more hydration the skin needs, because it's like a marathon. Doing all these treatments to our skin, we're asking it to remodel, rejuvenate, and do all these things. So it needs moisture, it needs hydration. It's like doing a marathon. You need to drink water, you need to train, so we can't do too much too soon, and we can't do it without the proper amount of nutrition and hydration for our skin. So I would aim for 2 to 3 times a week with your LED, and you're going to be doing 3 to 8 minutes. Like I said, I'd used this for years and got great results with just 3, which is kind of funny. Avoid your thyroid if you have issues. If you have issues with your thyroid, you can come straight up underneath the chin and do the sides. So once that's done, the LED will warm up your muscles a little bit, and so you can go in with the Anma. You could use your fingers if you don't have the Anma. I'm coming out with a Release Your Jaw video with just your fingers this Friday, so you can check that out. But what I'll do is, I know that my biggest bang for my buck to spend just a few minutes will be my jaw. This muscle gets really, just a grinder. So I'll go up and just release quickly, because and the video talks about it this week, when you grind your teeth, and it's primal, right? So many of us do it. it's the axis of our face, and so it will give us sort of pain face, where everything comes in and down, scrunches up, right? So release that jaw, release my forehead. I've got my little, it's not an 11, it's a 1. I'll do this quickly, See that, I mean, this is why I like the Anma, because it's just so fast. And yes, I'm doing this on dry skin, because that means I'm not going to go as deep, right? Because I know I'll be using the mini on hydrated skin and skin that has slip and glide. So I think it's good to learn how to use it without anything on the skin, because that way you're learning how to release that very superficial fascia that tends to hold those wrinkles in place. And fascia is like this 3D spider web. So if you go too deep, you're going to miss the most superficial fascia. And if you go too light, you're going to miss the deep fascia. So learning to use it on dry skin has a lot of value. All right, so I've released my trouble spots. I'm doing a jaw check. Yeah, so I've released my trouble spots. Now I would go in with the mini. So at this point, you would put on Neogenesis Recovery. You could put on simply the gel mask. You could put on any serums that don't have any acids in them at this point, because all these modalities will drive them deeper into the skin. So if I'm working on clients, Neogenesis, a brightening serum, and then the Hydrolift. So you can go in, I'm just going to keep it simple because I layer on all that stuff at night. Now, as somebody was asking, when to remove the collagen gel that comes with the Time Master Pro. Once again, I prefer to layer everything up underneath the collagen gel so that it's pushed in via these modalities. Microcurrent is excellent at pushing product into the skin. The ultrasound Time Master Pro is excellent at pushing product into the skin. So take that opportunity. And I also feel, and this is just my opinion, that although the skin is warm and in receiving mode after we do these treatments, I feel like we've pushed so much product in that it may not be able to absorb what we put on top, because we've basically pushed in all this hydration and everything in already, and how much more can it absorb? So that's why I like to just do it, boom, right before the treatment, right before I use any of the mini or the Time Master Pro. So once you've done that, then you can wash it off with a warm, wet towel, damp towel. Just take off the excess, put on whatever, Neogenesis moisturizer, light or intensive. And sorry, I'm going all over here. I love having 2 minis. It's just so much faster. And at that point, you would just put on whatever basic moisturizer to go to bed. Make sure it doesn't have any sunscreen in it, because sunscreen tends to dry out the skin. We don't want to go to bed with any sunscreen on our face. I'm assuming you do this routine at night, but so yeah, so LED 2 to 3 times a week, the mini 3 to 5 times a week. And once you meet your goals, you can go down to 3 to 4 times a week, depending on your needs, your age, your lifestyle, health levels, water levels in your skin, in your body. It's also a good idea to drink a full glass of water before microcurrent treatment. And in the Time Master Pro, I would say, that's always helpful. A lot of times we're magnesium deficient, and that will keep us from getting the results that we want. Lots of videos from doctors on YouTube talking about what happens when we have magnesium deficiency, but I'm not allowed really to recommend it since I'm not a nutritionist, but it's something I noticed in clients. I actually noticed it on myself. We went to Paris, or to France, it was 2 years ago, and I was drinking this magnesium water. It tastes kind of weird, kind of magnesium-y, whatever. But my husband was like, "Honey, your eyebrows are looking really wide awake." calcium is the mineral that helps us contract muscles, and magnesium is the mineral that helps us the muscle release, right? Helps the muscle relax. So that's important because I think, well, as Americans, we basically are pretty deficient in both. That's really typical to be deficient in both. And if this starts to dry down, you can just take some mineral water and sort of re-wet the face. So yeah, calcium and magnesium work together, and it does make a difference. As we get older, it's harder for our body to pick up and absorb calcium, magnesium, minerals in general, so sometimes good to supplement. But check with your doctor. I don't know if you've ever had your levels checked, but I had mine checked, and big surprise, it was calcium, magnesium. And my doctor said, "Welcome to the human race." So yeah, but when we went to France and I was drinking all that magnesium water, he was noticing that my eyes were wider awake, because I guess when you don't get enough magnesium, one of the byproducts is you can get migraines, because it helps things vasodilate, right? And so that restriction in blood flow to the brain or anywhere is not going to be great. So yeah, my eyes were sort of floating up, maybe because I was relaxed too. But I thought that was interesting. I actually did a video on it because I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm seeing the whites of your eyes more," and I'm like, "Well, that's a good thing." Now you may have noticed I'm sort of doing this from the middle up and out routine, and it's just because to me it sort of makes the most sense. It's sort of a modified mini instructions, the manual. It's a modified version. So this was supposed to be a follow along, but I start talking and I go really fast because for the video's purpose, I just go really fast. So you could do these movements, but go slower. And also know that you're going to modify whatever trouble areas you have. Say you have deep nasolabial folds, you would do something more like this, where you'd come in and get up underneath this and do, see that? Where you're pushing up, because there are muscles here and then there are muscles that come this way. And so you're going to want to do this triangle type movement. It's where you're pushing this up, getting up underneath that muscle and lifting that. And then you're going this way to work on this part. And you can do this. And you probably want to go way slower. I also have a video on how to release that, but just know there's usually a bunch of inflammation just kind of hanging out. And that is typical. I mean, that's what happens with our faces. It just does. Unless you're doing major calisthenics with your face, in which case you probably wouldn't need me. Okay, so once again, the sort of triangle. I did this a lot on my mother-in-law, who has very large, beautiful cheeks. And I couldn't believe, if you've never seen, I did her, was it 2017? She came to visit and she wasn't getting any exercise at all on her face. She had aged so much. And the before and afters were amazing. I worked on her 3 times in a week period, and she drained and drained and drained. And then I showed her the before and afters, and she couldn't even believe it. Okay, so that is sort of a typical routine for me. I'm sorry I went too fast, but just know that, you can't get it wrong with microcurrent, and if you get it wrong, you just stop doing it. There's a lot of experimentation. For me, I know I can't go like this because it just sort of overdevelops this muscle and makes makes me look bad. It makes my neck look extra large, and I don't need that. So another person was asking about skin laxity. And when you have skin laxity, there's a couple things going on. There's fat loss, bone loss, just a byproduct of aging. And so, and then sometimes we'll have nutrient deficiencies that sort of add to it. And so the face just grows. It outgrows the soft packet, the soft envelope that is the skin, the muscles, the fascia, the fat padding. That outgrows the bony structure that it's supposed to hold on to. So what we need to do is build up the muscles, build the skin back up, see how far you can get there. And a lot of times, if that's not enough, then you can go to something a little more intense. Like I ended up doing, I think that was like 4 or 5 fibroblast treatments to my neck, or maybe a few more. But I got it. I mean, I don't have much of a neck, or much of a chin, but I got this. This is a lot less, and I actually gained 10 pounds during quarantine, so I got some extra weight on me. But normally you would see that right here on me, but because I've had all that skin shrinking through here, it's not as bad as it would have been had I never done that. If you combine modalities, I would always do microcurrent last. And if you combine the Time Master Pro with microcurrent, I would do microcurrent last. And you can do microcurrent in a half session if you do microcurrent after the Time Master Pro, because anytime you're mixing modalities, your skin gets more of a workout than if you just did one modality, by itself. That's kind of nice that the synergistic blend of modalities is way more powerful than just one. It's always good to work the muscles and then do some LED, and the Time Master Pro is very detoxifying and plumping. So they all work in totally different ways. So we're working with light waves and very tiny electric waves, and then the Time Master Pro where you're using sound waves and light waves. Going back to that marathon analogy, we're really taking the ATP that is naturally present, which is the energy that the mitochondria of the cell produces, and it goes way up when we start using these machines. And so we're kind of like running a marathon. It's like we go fast, we slow down, we go fast, we slow down, but we keep going. So we're pushing the skin to work harder than it normally does. And it's not a bad thing. We're doing it in a sort of a loving way, because we can go and blast with a laser or whatever. But I think when we add energy to this every day, it's more of a gentle push. So yeah, skin laxity. You'll notice that the more that you work out the skin, the better it will look. You will restore a lot of the laxity. You can also take collagen supplements. Make sure your vitamin C levels are up. Your protein levels are good in your diet, because that makes a difference. Oh, the treatment schedule of masks and dermaplaning or exfoliation. So if you wanted to, you could add in any of the masks that I sell, like the Korean masks, with this. And you could do, for example, the Exoderm mask. It's just like a second skin, and you can lay down and do the mini over it. I would put it on after LED, but you can do the mini over it. You can do the Time Master Pro over it. And there's a lot of juice that's left in the bottom of that Exoderm bag. And it's because it's a full ounce of liquid in those Korean. I just love the Korean sheet masks for that reason. They're so juicy. And you can take a fan brush and just dip down into it, put it in your refrigerator and use it up. I would use it within a couple days, but just use it up. Or a week, probably. But it's nice because it's like a 2 or 3 or 4. But yeah, so you would put that mask. You can use it up to twice a week if you wanted to. You can do microcurrent over it. You can do it on your off day, so you don't have to. You could just watch TV with the mask on, so you don't have to be doing anything. You can just enjoy the mask and just lay there. Now, LED is not going to go through those masks, so you definitely want to do LED before. They were asking about dermaplaning. So dermaplaning is when you basically shave some of the epidermis off. It's like a scalpel, and it's very popular right now. And it's been out for a long time, 20 years or so. I had it done once. Oh God, I was in my early 30s in Miami in a plastic surgeon's office. So relaxing. So you would do this. However, I would say it depends on your skin type, but however often you like to dermaplane, whatever the manufacturer says of your blade. I imagine you're just doing one pass. I would say once a week, once every 2 weeks. I don't dermaplane, so I can't really speak to it, but I would fit the exfoliation in a couple times a month as needed by your skin. When you start using the Neogenesis products, you will notice that you don't need as much exfoliation because it kicks in the natural desquamation process or the natural exfoliation shedding process. And that usually takes about 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 2 months. So I don't do a ton of exfoliation because I also will use my retinol when I feel like I've got some buildup. I use my retinol and I look fresh again in the morning. We're asking about microneedling. It just depends on how sensitive your skin is, how deep you're going. If you're just doing for product penetration, like a 0.25, you could probably pop that in a couple times a week. You always have to go by how our skin feels and looks. I mean, my routine will change on a daily basis. I have a hideous amount of products that I'm always in stages of trying, and I know that I've done retinol a couple nights in a row because I've got some buildup. I generally do it every other night, but if I've done something harsher, I will go gentler. And if I've worked my skin really hard, then I will go gentle for the next day, if at all. I tend to like to do machines every other day, because the magic happens in between, right? All the remodeling and the carrying away of toxins and all that stuff happens in between treatments. So we need to give our skin some time. And I realize when we get started that we want to just go, do. And that's fine, but always judge by how your skin looks. If your skin looks red and dehydrated and you got the skin uglies, as I like to call them, tamp back a little bit. Sometimes we're doing too much and the skin is just not having it. So we always have to use that as a barometer, as am I doing too much? Am I not doing enough? And just go by what your skin is telling you. My routine changes up all the time, but I'll do my Illuminate LED. I do that 3 or 4 times a week. It's a 5-minute treatment time, but I just love it because it plumps my face and it lasts for a few days, and I do it again. So I'll do that 3 or 4 times a week because it is a 5-minute treatment time, and it's just right here. So I will do microcurrent about 3 times a week. I grab my 2 minis and go. The Time Master Pro, I stick with twice a week because that's what the manufacturer says, and I find that keeps this up quite nicely. I usually do the LED by itself. It's just whenever I can sneak down here and get it done. I usually do microcurrent with the Time Master Pro. It's just simpler, it's more bang for my buck. A follow along routine. So I just did like a quickie follow along routine. You could replay that a few times or just go slower. We're asking about LED times per week. Yeah, you want to try 2 to 3 times a week. When it first came out, everybody was saying a half hour twice a week, and that's it. There weren't a lot of machines, but with this, I would say a half hour twice a week is perfect. Clinically, I got amazing results on clients. That for years, that was like my only machine, microcurrent and LED. And I got amazing results on clients with just LED. Because I got my first LED in 2001 and my first microcurrent, I think, in 2003. So I was very familiar with LED and what it could do for the skin. And it can do a lot. Even with 2 half-hour treatments a week, it can do a lot. Especially the red infrared combo. This combo, I love this combo. It really, it satisfies. It gets a lot of good results. So somebody was asking about, and I just did a video on this, but it's vertical lip lines and leathery skin lines. So with that type of skin, you'll want to make sure that you're on a retinol, you're doing some exfoliation. Time Master Pro is wonderful for that because when you're talking leathery skin, it's usually glycated skin, or skin that has the collagen molecules have bound with sugar molecules just from diet and sometimes too much sun, smoking, etc. But most of us have it down the T-zone. By the time we're in our 50s, we've got some degree of it. And by 70 for sure, we've got plenty around our mouth. And the Time Master Pro is a gift because it does start to break that down. I had never seen that before, and it was mind-blowing for me. So the Time Master Pro, a little bit of extra time. You could even do it daily, an extra minute of the Time Master Pro on the lip area only if you're 70 and dealing with deeper lip lines. Because it's a 2-fold problem. It's a 3-fold problem. It is loss of fat and collagen. actually even loss of gum tissue and everything. And so it just flattens out. And so what we need to do is try to build up the collagen. And when we've got glycation, we have to break that up. And normally that is such a tough, slow moving skin. And the half-life of collagen is 15 years. So, I mean, it's just, usually I would cry because there was nothing I could do in the past before the Time Master Pro that I noticed would do anything. And I have noticed on clients that it does start to break down that tough, leathery layer. Now stick with it because it takes time. That is just slow to repair skin. And if you can't stand it anymore, you can go get fibroblast and it burns that right off. But you'll have to keep it at bay with some device. So the Time Master Pro is beautiful on that. Third issue is just use. And so we need to release it. And I find, I mean, I can do it with my fingers, but I have to do duck loops. But then I feel like it pulls on this a lot, and this gets longer and longer and longer as we get older, and it's a dead giveaway. So I try not to pull, and I don't do that very much on clients. It feels good, and it does help release these, but the easiest way is with the Anma or gua sha tool, because you basically have to crush the very superficial fascia that is holding that wrinkle in place, and then it can start to heal. But we're going to be using it all the time, so it's tough. You can make it look much better, but I don't think it will ever go away. I've had 2 lip lines here, and really the only thing that makes them look better is LED, the Time Master Pro, lots of hydration, blurring foundation like the Repair Sun Cushion, the SPF 50, the Sculptra one, blurring them out, release work. Even if you have a gua sha stone or a roller like this little jade roller, and you go in and you're trying to really iron out, you're trying to basically crush the fascia on the top. And I don't mean crush like, smash it out to oblivion. Release it. And you can either do it like this, although a lot of times if you're working with a lot of glycated skin, it's tough. Because the skin is so cross-linked, the collagen is so soupy and cross-linked and mired and gunked up with the sugar molecules that it's just a tough layer. It's just a tough coating. And so you can go in, and it's going to take a while. But like I said, I have seen with the Time Master Pro that starting to break up. And it's a process, so stick with it. Leathery skin lines is the same thing. So say you have them right here, and a lot of people get these little lines right here because we lose volume in our face and the skin sort of folds up on itself a little bit. I'm gonna go in, do your mini so everything is up. And look, you really need to do any of this kind of stuff before microcurrent, because you don't want to relax the muscles. You want to do the release work before, and then the lift work. So don't do what I just did. But I was just showing you, how to use something. I mean, this was $20 on Amazon. I mean, it's cheap. Do I like it as much as the Anma? No, it's not near as versatile because this has the little fingers and toes and vertical lip lines. You can do this too. These are 2 acupressure points that will release all around. And so if you're working on these and nothing's happening, just sit there. Like you'd sit there in front of the TV or read an article or whatever, but just sit there. And so one finger's here, one finger's here, and just sit there and know that this is releasing so much. And a lot of times just doing this for 1, 2, 3 minutes and then going in with your device or your Anma or your gua sha tool or your roller, you will see a bigger difference than if you had sat there and sort of tried to wrestle this into submission. So yeah, this point is really special, these 2 points. I hope this video was helpful to you, and I'll see you in the group. Bye now.